We've been hit with some really, really sad news. Just moments ago, we found out from our friends at Hockey Night in Canada. Have we got the tweet ready, Ryan? This is awful. A Canadian legend, 90 years old, play-by-play man extraordinaire, Bob Cole, has passed away at the age of 90. Born in 1933, he leaves us again at the age of 90. And like I say, this just happened. It's taken us all by surprise here. I know he's 90 years old, but talk about iconic and legendary. One of these figures you just figure would last forever. Friend of the show. He's been on this show with us, I believe, certainly at 1040 at the Funny Station. But Bob Cole leaving us at the age of 90. And how many times, look at this, it's the playoffs right now, Rick. How many times in the past did we enjoy Bob Cole, usually with Harry Neal on NHL broadcast? And I'll go, as I often do, a step further back here. The NHL, back in the day, when I was growing up, 60s and 70s, used to do Sunday night radio broadcasts.
Wow.
And that's where I first heard Bob Cole. And that's how we got games back then, other than Saturday night Hockey Night in Canada, the odd Wednesday night game. And the games you went to at the Coliseum when the Canucks entered the National Hockey League. But those Sunday night radio broadcasts, it was often Bob Cole. I haven't done my research on this, but I seem to remember that's how he broke in with Hockey Night in Canada and worked his way up to be the number one guy. And it was really, really special. It's one of those things where you hear somebody for the first time, and, I wasn't in broadcasting then, but this person is really good. And that was, obviously something that's gone away in this day and age. But that's where I first heard Bob Cole. And from what I understand, this isn't always the case, but a real nice gentleman away from the microphone and the cameras.
Fixture on Saturday nights, for sure. I always say, Don, CBC broadcasters have a unique voice, and he did. And he's the voice. You don't need a picture. You don't need a name. You hear it, and you say, that's Bob Cole. And for us, it was Danny Gallivan. It was Don Whitman. I love Don Whitman. He was another great CBC voice. These are the guys that were legends who Saturday nights, you did not need to see their names or pictures, but you identified them with their sound. Mm-hmm. And his sound is a sound Canadians will not forget. Mm-hmm. I will. The Jim Robson's there for me as well. The sound, Danny Gallivan, Dick Irvin, all these guys. The sound. It's a CBC sound. These guys are all legends. Very sad day.
The other thing that you mentioned, all those gentlemen. All very talented. Yep. Obviously, they wouldn't get to that to that level if they weren't. But also with Bob Cole, and this is the same with Jim Robson, the late great Danny Gallivan, all the people you mentioned, Dan Kelly, who wasn't on Hockey Night in Canada all that often. But also, to me, you could tell how much they loved hockey.
Oh, big time. Loved their jobs done.
It's something that just came through their voices, how excited they got. Even when a game wasn't all that important, forget the playoffs. During the regular season, you could just tell how much they loved hockey, how much they loved their jobs, how much Bob loved his job.
Loved his job.
And how much he knew how important those broadcasts were to people across our great country. Have you got any example of Bob's play-by-play? The one thing that stands out for a lot of people, and it was a humorous moment, do you remember him throwing to an interview with Snoop Dogg back in the day? Snoop's kids were into hockey. They were following the Ducks.
Was this in L.A.?
It was. I believe it was in Anaheim. It might have been during one of the Ducks' playoff runs during the 2000s.
And Don, a great goal call. A lot of play-by-play guys don't have a great goal call. His goal call was unbelievable.
With Bob Cole, and I think a lot, maybe not Danny Gallivan so much. He went far with the English language, but Bob Cole's call was really simple.
Yeah.
But it it became special just because of what I talked about. You could just tell how much he enjoyed the game of hockey and how much he realized how important those broadcasts were. His call was simple, to the point, and really, really effective.
And his call at the end, you can't have longevity in our industry without passion and enthusiasm. He had it. Even in his 60s and 70s, his goal call didn't go down because of energy. The energy was always there because you love what you do. Mm-hmm. That's why he was still so good in his latter years.
And I'll tell you something, and this might not be a popular opinion, but I hated it. Just hated it. And I'm getting to this stage too, where people ripped into Bob Cole because of his age.
Yeah.
And I thought he was still effective. You get this old man off the air. Same thing with Don Cherry. And the way they exited was not the way they wanted to. I remember having Bob Cole on the air, and we asked him a question. This was on 1040. We asked him the question, how many games, this is later in his career, how many games are you doing right now, and how many games do you want to do?
Yes.
And he had a hard time answering that question because he didn't want to upset the bosses. But you could tell by his hesitation that he wanted to do a whole lot more than he was doing later in his career. But the amount of disrespect, and you see it all the time on social media, that he received at the end of his career was really, really shameful. We have some, Bob?
This is from the Hockey Night video when he retired. And so this is about a minute and a half. There's a comment in here with Ron McLean, and there's a comment in here with Harry Neal as well. But it's a nice summary of the way Bob called the game and the way he really captured a crowd as well. So here's a little sampling.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Cole with Harry Neal. Here we go on a Saturday night. Dancing away to center and coming in on goal. Hard shot. Late on.
The truth is you have to sell the song with your sincerity. That's Bob's magic. He sings the game.
What's the line and is around the net, over the line and coming along the board. Turns away, makes a play, twisting and turning, home alone, center, the backhand, oh, that just missed. And a little pushing and shoving and boom on. That's the way it goes. Harry Neal, what do you think?
As the game got on, his voice ramped up.
Look out! Oh, Constantino!
When the game gets dicey, so does he.
Wait a minute, wake up. One squaring off here, Harry. The gloves are down, helmets are off, and they're gonna go. Oh, flailing away each other. Think this crowd is not pumped up? Think this team is not pumped up? You're not doing bad yourself, you know. Oh, wow, now do. I'll tell you, they're going wild in the Coliseum. There's Modano centering in, what a save by Joseph. Another stop by Joseph. What a save. And heading back to the What about this for goaltending? What about this?
Wow.
The other thing with Bob Cole is Hockey Hall of Famer, won multiple Gemini Awards from Newfoundland.
Yep.
I remember when we had him on the air at the old station. He was joining us from his home province. You never got the sense that he was on anybody's side, and there's a lot of he wasn't biased towards one team, which at the national level you do see once in a while, or at least you see or hear of broadcasters being accused of that. You never got that with Bob Cole. He was equally excited for everybody out there, every team.
Absolutely, and just listening to that, see, that's the voice in your head because you heard him every Saturday. And that's the voice that you're always going to remember. And because these guys on Saturday nights, growing up in the 70s and 80s, Don, it stays with you. It stays with you. And that's a legendary voice, legendary call. Nobody in this country could ever forget Bob Cole.
I didn't see that partnership coming with Harry Neal.
Well,
because Harry spent a lot of time in Vancouver with the Canucks.
Yes, you did.
I don't know if you had a chance to interview him
I
at all.
remember Harry, yep.
But he was really, really sharp. And I can't imagine how he's feeling right now.
Yep.
But he was really, really sharp, well-educated, obviously intelligent, and he ends up going. And I never got the feeling, though,
great chemistry
that he loved the media.
Yep.
But he ends up being part of the media.
That's it.
And they paired together, and it worked right off the bat, and called so many So many games, so many important games together, and like you say, just so many people. I was older when they became a team, but a
tandem.
lot of people grew up with them. A lot of people grew up
Big
with
time.
Bob Cole and Harry Neal Saturday night. But I'll never forget those broadcasts, and I don't know if there's anybody out there in radio or TV land or podcast land that'll remember those Sunday night broadcasts on radio, CBC, and it was really, really special. And I believe that's where Bob got his start with the CBC. It was something else.
Absolutely.
Maybe we could run some Bob Cole throughout the show, some of his calls, Ryan, if you don't mind. Okay, if you can dig that up, we'd sure appreciate it. Bob Cole leaving us at the age of
Very
90.
sad.
What a life. What a life.
Very sad.